Well, hello everybody. I hope that you are all having an absolutely wonderful day. Welcome back. How is it Monday again? Like, what's going on with these crazy weeks? They're going by so fast. I am really excited to be here today with you all to give you some kind of a little bit of a different perspective on business, on marketing, on how to get in front of your ideal audience in the best possible way so that you can grow, so that you can expand, so that you can get more clients and you can make a larger impact with everything that you're doing. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Fabi Paolini, brand strategy coach, helping coaches, consultants, and experts build premium brands that attract high-end clients into their business every single day. Say hi in the chat if you're here, or say hola if you're here, or give me a hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. I just want to know that you guys are all here watching. I am beyond excited, and today we're going to be talking about something that I really find really interesting, because what we're going to be going into is 3 of the top reasons or common reasons, or basically the common reasons why your content isn't converting. So it's some of the mistakes that a lot of entrepreneurs or coaches or experts tend to make without obviously realizing, because if we did realize that we wouldn't make these mistakes. And listen, I 100%, hey Christina, am somebody who made these mistakes in the past myself, so I know exactly. In fact, I'm going to tell you a few stories of those from my own personal story too. But I'm going to share with you some of these things, and I know that you're going to be able to relate to a lot of them because they're very common things. Because listen, we all know at the end of the day that content is king or queen, depending on your point of view, right? So content is everything in the world that we live in. It's all about what we're creating, what we're putting out there, whether we're doing it on TikTok or on Facebook, on Reels, through a webinar, through YouTube, through whatever channel you guys are all using. It really comes down to content, right? And if your content isn't getting you the results that you desire, there's something off. And typically for me, when I say the results that you desire, let's kind of dive deep into what that means before we talk about some of those common reasons why that might be the truth, right? So when I say the results that you desire, what I mean is you are consistently putting content out there, whichever platform is your poison of choice, let's call it like that, right? Whatever platform you decide, you're creating content consistently, meaning at least 3 to 5 times per week, and you are not experiencing getting DMs from people constantly. Let's break this down into normal terms. If you're generating from 3 to 5 content pieces per week, or if you're doing a webinar, and we'll talk into that, that's a little bit of a different thing, but if you're generating 3 to 5 pieces of content per week and you're not generating at least one DM every single week from somebody saying, I'm interested to know more about working with you, I'm curious, what does working with you look like? Or if you're sending emails every single week, again, let's say 2 to 3 emails per week, and you're not getting at least one person reaching out, booking a call with you to be able to learn more about working with you, or if you are running traffic, running ads, and obviously this will vary depending on how much money you're spending on it, to a webinar or a video sales letter, and you're not generating calls from that, there's something wrong with your content. There's something off with your content. And oftentimes it might be a subtle shift, something very, very tiny. For the most part, when I sit down to work with my clients, for me, it's very quick, very fast for me to look at it and be like, ooh, this is why you're experiencing this. This is exactly the reason why you are not getting those DMs, why you're not getting people reaching out, why you're not getting people booking calls. Or if you are getting people booking calls with you, they're like, nice, thank you, bye. They're not signing up. They're not investing. They're not enrolling with your program, right? So for me, it tends to be very quick for me to notice and realize what it is. But in my own personal experience, what happened was that you guys see this, I'm somebody who loves creating content. I am an avid content creator. I love it. I'm into it. I love writing. I love creating. I love doing video. It comes very easy to me. But as I was creating content over the years, there was a point where I was like, I'm putting out a lot of content. I'm doing a lot of different things. I would be doing monthly live webinars, and I would be doing a week, like 3 emails per week. And I was generating posts on social media every single day. And I was never or rarely getting people DMing me with like, okay, I want to know more about working with you. Or I was getting calls, but I was getting a lot of people that weren't the right fit or who weren't ready to invest. So I was doing all of this work and investing so much money into my business, and it felt to me like I wasn't getting the result that I was expecting. Is this making sense? Is this something that you guys have experienced yourself, right? So I was like, okay, I'm doing all this and I'm expecting to be able to generate $10, $15, $20,000 per month consistently. And it felt like I was stuck in the same place every single month, even if I created more content, even if I was like, okay, let me start doing more Instagram, or let me add another platform. I was kind of sort of like basically in the same place. And I felt very stuck, obviously. So I kind of like sat down and I was like, okay, there has to be something wrong with my content. And obviously there was, right? Over time, investing in myself and my business and marketing and messaging and all of these different areas, which obviously I'm an expert at, but you can't see the color of your own eye. Sometimes it requires somebody from the outside looking in to tell you, oh, you know what, this is wrong. It made me come to certain conclusions about what is really important for you to get different results. To give you perspective, currently, I am not spending more money on my ads, and I always share this because for me and my business, I've always done a good mix of organic and paid to grow my audience. But I haven't increased my ad spend. If anything, we have slowly decreased ad spend over the last year, which has been crazy, but we totally have. And we have basically, it's been insane. Just to give you perspective, last week alone, we did about 70K in sales. That's not cash collected, but in sales. Last week alone, that's what happened. So just to give you a little bit of perspective, that's insane, right? And it's not me doing a lot more, but it's being a lot smarter and more strategic and intentional with the content that I'm putting out there. So that being said, let me walk you through 3 of the most common reasons why your content isn't converting. Are you guys excited or what? Give me a 1 in the comments if you're excited. I want to know that you guys are excited. And obviously if you're watching the replay, give me a 1 too. And if you're watching through the vault, just give me a hot, like virtual 1 so that I know that you guys are excited. Okay. All right, so the first thing, the first mistake, or the first reason, I don't want to call it a mistake, but the first reason why your content isn't converting at the level that you want is because you are not really differentiating yourself through the content that you're putting out there. So what I mean with that is that you are getting lost in the crowd. And this will kind of tie in, like the 3 things that I'm going to talk about are going to really tie in together. But this first one, what I want to get to across to you is that we live, and I've talked about this often, in what's called an identity economy. I didn't make this up. Go Google it afterwards. There's a whole bunch of information about this. So what this means is that people are making purchasing decisions based on your identity and how your identity reinforces their own as buyers, right? So if I'm able to connect with you more on a personal level, if I'm able to kind of really feel like you get me, like you understand me, or if it's aspirational, where I'm seeing you and I'm like, oh, I really like your vibe and your style and the way that you're doing things, that's going to get people to feel more inclined to purchase from you versus if you are this perfect brand where you're showing up very professionally, giving your information, and that's it. There's no emotion behind it. So this first piece that is very important is for you to start bringing more personality into your brand. And I'll tell you my story around this in case you haven't heard this story, because it's kind of funny. But back in 2016, this is when I launched my business online. I did this video series and it took me forever to create because I wanted the video series to be perfect, right? I was launching my business online and I wanted to look professional, right? I mean, obviously, and I had an idea in my brain of what it meant to be professional. So I was like, I like literally, you can still find the videos on YouTube. They're pathetic, but I thought that they were brilliant. It was very like, let's talk about what branding is. Branding is the perceptions. It was like so scripted, and beyond scripted, I don't mind but being scripted, but there wasn't any personality behind it. Now, I thought that the content I was creating was brilliant. I was like, I mean, it was so intense how much I thought that the content was brilliant, and the content was good, but hear me out, that I literally reached out to other designers that I knew, because back then I was only doing web design and branding and things like that, but more on the visual part. And today I do more on the messaging piece, right? But I literally reached out to other designers and I was like, I'm gonna have so much work that I need to have you like ready for it. I did not get one client from that video series. So Moving then, I invested over $10,000 into a webinar program and learned how to do webinars. And again, created my webinar, did my whole thing. It was perfect on paper. It sounded good. I said all the right things. The content was magnificent, and I made zero sales from that webinar as well. And I spent a lot of money on ads, spent months trying to figure it out. And I was like, what is going on? The content is good. I know that I'm good at what I do. Why aren't people buying? Obviously, hindsight is 2020, right? Today I can look at it and be like, oh my God, this is embarrassing to even look at it. I was not present in my own brand. My voice wasn't there. My personality wasn't there. It was just like, I want to be professional and I want to be seen as this credible source and somebody like an expert that I want people to hire. Well, guess what? Nobody cares if you're an expert. Nobody cares if you, like if I have an MBA or if I have this or that. Nobody cares about credentials, really. They care about, like what they care about is whether they believe that you will be able to help them or not. And for that, there has to be a little bit of connection to be made. Not a bit, a lot. Like you have to make a connection with your audience. This is making sense. So what tends to happen a lot is that we remove our personalities from our brand and we're putting out content out there that people could literally take your content and paste it into their, like if you are a career coach, give me Christina's example, right? She's a career coach, and I'm not saying that this is you, Christina. I'm just randomly using an example. Somebody could take your content and literally paste it. If I'm a career coach, paste it into their stuff, and like nobody would notice that you took it from somebody else, right? So what tends to happen with content that most of you, including myself back then, are doing is I'm creating content that is really exceptional. It's good, but there's no personality behind it. There's no like my little touch, your own way of doing things, your own way of saying things. And therefore, the magnetism behind it is gone. Like there's no real magnetism. That energy of like, oh my God, this is so good. I need to know more. It's not there. And the reason why it's not there is because you're not there. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to have a personal brand always. It's funny because I literally just sent Christina an email about this earlier. It doesn't mean that you always have to have a personal brand, not at all. But what it does mean is that you have to humanize your brand. And when I say humanize your brand, it means that you have to be there. You need to make people feel like they can connect to you personally, that they will feel connected to you as a brand, or that they will feel like you get them, that you understand them. And the only way that that happens is that you bring pieces of you into the content. So there has to be a way of doing that. There has to be a way of you infusing your personality, your point of view, your perspective, your stories, your experiences, all of these different things into the content that you're putting out there. Because if you're putting out content that anybody else could literally copy and paste and put out there, there's something wrong with that. And that's not going to convert. Like people will just scroll past it because it's who, like, I don't even care who the heck shared it, right? It could have been anybody. This is, I feel, and I'm very much into TikTok lately, but I feel like this is very much part of the reason why TikTok is so popular right now, because of that storytelling level and how people are able to just, like, you can't copy somebody else's content. It's you on camera for 30 seconds sharing who you are, and your personality has to come through. That's why I feel like it's such a powerful platform, right? So that first reason why your content isn't converting is that there's no personality. You've removed yourself. You're trying so much to say the right thing. Like I had a client that used to say like the marketing terminology. I want to get the right marketing terminology. There is no right marketing terminology. What needs to be there is you, your personality, your voice, your point of view. What do you want to say that's different from everybody else? What do you want to say that is unique? How can you bring your stories, your way of looking at life into what you're saying so that people can feel a connection with you personally beyond the content? Because at the end of the day, like I said, identity economy, people are buying from you. Like I mean, you know, when I look at myself, for example, there's so many people that are teaching marketing and messaging and business and whatever I teach, right? Or branding or whatever. but there's a reason why people are buying from me. It's not because my program is necessarily better, which it is, but still, right? You know what I mean? It's because there's a connection to me personally. The reason why people are buying from Christina or Dancel or whoever it is not like you're not sharing anything or selling anything that is groundbreaking. At the end of the day, I'm doing branding. There's a million people doing branding. You're a career coach, so there's a million people, and I'm using Christina again, that are career coaches, right? There's a million versions of you out there. They're not buying from you because you're like, ooh, wow, look at this life coach. I didn't like, wow. It's not about that. It's about their connection to you. So if you're not bringing you into the brand, why would they buy from you? So that's the first piece. That's the first mistake. Does that make sense to you guys? Let me know if it made mistakes. Not made mistakes. If it made sense in the comments. Now, the second thing is going to be a little bit tied to that, but we're going to go a little bit deeper, which is the type of content that you're creating is blah. Basically, right? Mistake number one, no personality. Mistake number two, content is blah. And what I mean with that is that, again, everybody is sharing basically the same thing, right? We're all talking about the same thing. And I'll use myself as an example. I'm not the only person talking about messaging in this world, right? I'm not the only person talking about business. I'm not the only person talking about lead generation. There are millions of coaches every day talking about these things, right? But if I'm creating content that sounds like and looks like everybody else's content, if I'm giving you how-to tips or like the 3 steps to, I don't know, like use social media or like whatever content that is very basic that everybody else is teaching, why would I pay attention? It's like I'm zoning out immediately. People don't want more information. They do not want more information. Google has a gazillion articles on everything that we're talking about today. What they want is transformation. So what you need to make sure that your content does above everything else is shift people's beliefs. Like really understand, what is that belief that my audience has that is really the reason why they are stuck where they're at right now, or that they have the problem that they have right now? And how can I, through my content, shift those beliefs, get them to realize that it's not about that it's about this other thing. It's about this other perspective. I like calling that the domino belief. It's not, I like calling it, that's what it's called, right? So what you want to find is the domino belief. That belief that if you can get your audience to stop believing this, you basically make your content, your work, your offer, your program the solution. And that's it, right? Like you're making what you do the solution. And it's clear to people that what you're teaching or what you're talking about through your content is part of something bigger, right? I often talk about my framework, which is called the brand strategy pyramid, in which I focus on 3 things. The core of it, which is your premium brand message, the second piece, which is your framework, and the third piece is the magnetic customer journey, right? So whenever I'm creating content, I'm always talking about, I have 3 layers to this. So for example, today we're talking about content, and we're kind of touching upon maybe a little bit of the bottom layer of that pyramid, which is messaging, maybe a little bit about the customer journey, because content leads to sales, and that's part of that marketing strategy at the end of the day. But you get the sensation that even if I'm talking about this is one piece of something bigger. And my whole thing, coming back to the domino effect, is that what I want you to get or believe is that without messaging, without really understanding how to communicate, how to connect with your audience, I don't even, like, I could give you the strategies, and I've seen it happen. I've literally seen it happen a million times. I mean, I've seen it happen every single time I have a new client coming in, right? They have the strategies, they have the process, they know exactly what they need to do. But if they don't have the message, nothing ends up working. Or it's not that nothing ends up working, because it works. My clients usually have had clients and things are working for the most part, but something is missing for things to just be like, boom, like take off, right? So my whole thing with the domino belief is getting you to believe that you need messaging first. You need to understand, what is your domino belief, and how can you bring that domino belief into everything that you do, every piece of content, whether it's an email, whether it's a webinar, whether it's a video, whether it's a 30-second TikTok. That doesn't mean that you have to do it in everyone, but you can still do it. Whether it's a post that you're sharing on Facebook in a Facebook group, wherever it is, how do I make people understand that what I do is something unique? How do I get them to shift their beliefs, right? And another piece of this is I heard a coach that I'm working with say something that I really like about call to action, right? Because one of the biggest mistakes that people make around their content is that they're not inviting people to take action. But that perspective of call to action, right? Like the CTA, the call to action at the end, book a call or buy here or DM me or whatever it is. It really also is about making sure that your content is calling people to take action, right? Call to action, literally calling them in to act to solve this problem. Whether it's like literally through send me a DM, send me a message or whatever, or if it's through I need you to act. I need you to move, to shift into a different direction. And through your content, what we want is that we want our audience to act. And we want to create urgency that gets people to feel like I need to fix this problem right now. Is this making sense, right? I mean, give me a 2 in the comments if this is making sense. Again, whether you're watching live or the replay afterwards, give me a 2 so that I know that you guys are following along with what I'm saying. So my point with the second mistake or the second reason why you're not generating conversions as you would like is that your content falls within, let me create the tips. Let me create the basic things that everybody else is saying, right? Like, let me just talk about the three steps to do. Like, you're going into how-to content. You're going into how-to content. You're going to all of these things that are very basic level information, and you're not going deep into the transformational content, into the things that will make people be like, huh, I hadn't seen that, right? I hadn't thought of that. And again, if we're bringing those 2 first things that I talked about together, it starts to build up. Because if I can make you shift perspective, and at the same time, I'm bringing my personality, my unique point of view, my framework, the way that I look at things into my content, you're making your offer more desirable. You're making people feel like I need to have Kurt stuff. It's not about this other person. I need Kurt, or I need Christina, or I need this person. Like, I need that person because they are shifting my perspective, looking at things in a different way. They're calling me to take action, creating that urgency. And at the same time, they're bringing their unique point of view into everything that they're doing, right? So that's what we want to do. That being said, let's jump into the third one. Let me drink a little bit of water there. Okay, so the third mistake, or the third reason why your content isn't converting, and if you guys have seen me around a few times, you should probably guess what I'm going to say next, is you're speaking to the wrong audience. And again, I feel like I literally say this every single week, but I'm going to say it every single week forever if I need to. There's a big difference between the people that need help and the people that want to be helped, the people that are actively looking for help. There's a very big difference between those two. And what the majority of people are doing is they're focusing on everybody that they can help. Like, oh, I'm just gonna work with entrepreneurs, or I'm just gonna work with moms, or I'm just gonna work with women or men, or cool, but that's not your audience. Your audience are the people who are actively looking for help. So there's a difference between people who are problem aware and people who are solution aware. And we want to speak to the people who are solution aware, meaning I know that I have a problem. I know that I have this issue going on, and I am looking for the specific solution that will help me solve the problem that I have. What we don't want to do is speak to, you guys should know what I'm going to say, speak to what I call the Ursulas. So the Ursulas for me are the poor, unfortunate souls, the people who are in victim mode, the people who are like, poor me, I have this horrible problem. The world is out to get me. I am a victim, like in every single perspective, victim mentality. I can't fix this on my own. I can't do anything. It was the coach that I worked with before. It was their fault. Or if like they're not taking personal responsibility for their lives, for their businesses, for their health, for their relationships, for whatever it is that you help them with. that is not your audience. And if you're generating content that consistently is speaking to somebody who is the Ursula, who is the poor unfortunate soul, because you've been told that you have to go deep into the problem, go deep into the pain, like get out your life and be like, pain, 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 your life is horrible, this is why you need me, blah, blah, blah. Right? Everybody tells you that that's where you want to go. That is not where you want to go. Stop speaking to the Ursulas. Yes, great, they do need help. But if somebody doesn't want to be helped, they're never going to hire you. Period. They have to be ready for that. And that's their journey. Great. There's somebody maybe out there for that person, but that's not you. If you are a high ticket coach and you're here to make an impact and you're here to make a change in people's lives, you want to see transformations for people, your audience isn't going to be somebody that you have to convince to hire, like that they need to hire you or anybody. Like if you have to convince them, if it has to be like this internal battle of you kind of like almost begging them, please work with me, I can save you, that is not your audience. So stop creating content that speaks to the person who is only problem aware and not solution aware. That is not your person. You need to choose the person who is ready. The other piece of this is really making sure that you're going all in with that audience. A lot of what happens is people creating content that is very surface level, kind of ties back to the second one, right? Blog content, very basic. And I'll give you an example that happened in my student Facebook group last week. So one of my clients, who is a coach for women who are basically dealing with a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety and have a lot of self-doubt and are really having a hard time focusing on the things that matter and being present in their lives, basically, right? So this is who she works with. And she was sharing with me what type of content should I create? And she was kind of giving me like a little quote image with some ideas of, I'm strong and I'm confident and you have to remind yourself that this is your truth or blah, 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 right? And I was like, again, this is content that anybody could copy and paste and it would say nothing. You need to go deeper, like go underneath that. What is your audience is experiencing right now? What are the very specific symptoms, scenarios, situations that they're going through every single day? Is it like, are they hard on themselves? Obviously they are. They're afraid that if they make a mistake, their kids will be like adding years to therapy because of them, right? Or they want to feel in control, or they want to feel better, they want to feel like everything at home is perfect. You need to speak to the real things that when people listen to it, it'll be very tangible. You know what? I'll give you an example, actually. I started this video, and I know that some of you are started watching after I began. At the beginning of this video, I gave you very tangible examples. I told you, if you are creating 3 to 5 pieces of content per week and you're not getting at least one DM every single week from somebody saying, I want to work with you, that means there's something wrong with your content, right? That is what I mean. I went very specific. I told you specifically, if you're not experiencing this, well, then you need to pay attention to this video. And what happens if you're sitting there thinking like, holy shit, that's me. I am creating 3 to 5 pieces of content every single week and I never get a DM from people. Well, then you're going to pay attention to my content, right? That's what you want to be able to do with your stuff. You have to go that specific so that your audience is like, I get it. But for that, you need to understand who your audience is. And notice that I didn't say at the beginning of this video, like, you're thinking of one day in the future creating content and, because you know that that's the best way to get clients. No, I said you're already doing these things because who I'm speaking to are people who are already taking action. I'm speaking to a very specific audience. Does that make sense? So you want to think about, what is my audience already doing? What actions are they already taking? And how can I create content that speaks to those specific people? So one of the reasons why your content isn't converting is that you're too open. You're too vague with the problems that your audience is experiencing. And therefore, they don't know that it's for them. So if you, and I used to do this a lot in the beginning, especially because I had a really hard time choosing my audience. So what I mean with that is that I was always in this like internal battle between working with people who were more experienced in business versus the people that weren't experienced in business and were launching their business. And therefore it was kind of ambiguous, right? I would do things that was for newies and I would do things that were for people that were more advanced. But what would happen is that people were like, well, I'm not sure if I'm the audience, right? Who is she speaking to? Now, I'm like, you know what? I went all in with people who are a little bit more advanced, people who have created content, people who have been building out their audiences, even if they have a tiny bit of audience, even if they have done very little content, but people who have had experience, who have had at least one client, like they know what they're doing, right? For the most part, they're a little bit more advanced than that. But I'm talking to people who are already taking action, and therefore my content is going to speak to them. The video from today is 3 reasons why your content is not converting, would not even catch your attention, or maybe it would, because maybe if you're launching, you'd be curious, right? But for the most part, I'm speaking to people who have the problem. I'm creating content and it's not converting. So for you to be able to get your content to convert, you need to speak to the very specific problems that your audience is experiencing right now, so that they can kind of filter themselves in and be like, oh, she's talking to me. I am the right person. And therefore, if you can describe my problem in so much detail, well, it must mean that you can help me solve it as well. Not only the problem, though, again, because we're not only speaking to the Ursulas, we're not only, I mean, obviously, one thing that I want to make clear is when I say the Ursula, I mean like the mentality of somebody who is not coachable, who is not taking action, who is not self-responsible, who is not self-led, who has to think about everything, who has to consult everybody about their decisions. That is the Ursula to me, right? So what we're doing is we're speaking to people that obviously have problems, obviously are stuck, or obviously can be overwhelmed. It's not that they don't have these problems, but instead that they have a desire to fix them. That's who we're speaking to. So your content needs to speak to that. Did that make sense? All right. So 2 things that I have for you. Number 1, I have a really cool PDF that is all about content formula. So it's really, I'm looking at it, it's called the ultimate content formula to attract high-end clients. So basically what this PDF has is a few different examples of the type of content that we generate every single week. You've seen me do it here, obviously, to be able to generate more traction, more people reaching out. If you want the PDF, type content in the chat so I can send that to you, whether you're watching live or the replay. And if you're watching this in the replay vault, click on the button that says send Fabi a message, and you'll send me a direct DM, and send me a DM with the word content so that I know what to send you. And the second thing is, obviously, I'm going to tell you about the 15-minute brand audit. So what we do is we hop on a free 15-minute call with you, and we sit down and look at your content. We look at everything that, well, not everything, but we'll look at your website or your posts on social media or your emails or your webinar landing page, whatever content that you're using right now in your business to generate leads. We'll sit down, we'll take a look at it, and we'll give you very specific feedback or insight into what you need to tweak to that content to make sure that you're attracting better quality leads. So if your content isn't converting, we'll look at it and tell you, okay, this post that you shared here, this is the very specific reason why this post isn't converting, or your website, or whatever it is that you're going to show us, and what you need to shift to make that better so that you can start bringing in the right people. This is not a sales call. You know that by now, or some of you guys might be newer, so you might not know it, but this is not a sales call. We're not going to sell you absolutely anything on the call. It will be 100% true value. And if you want access to the call, just type the word audit in the chat, or just send me a DM with the word audit. Or if you're watching this in the replay vault afterwards, there's a little button beneath so that you can just click it and book the audit yourself. I hope that this was helpful. I will see you all next week. I see a whole bunch of content show up. I'll send you guys the PDF in just 1 second. I will see you all next week. Ciao.